Captain Horatio Hornblower is a classic swashbuckling movie from 1951. Dealing with a fictional hero of the Royal Navy, this is of course another glorious excuse to observe a group of Britishers raising absolute hell, but always with a required amount of restraint. One might be blasting people to pieces with grape shot, but one always remains perfectly civil. It is 1807. Gregory Peck plays the formidable Captain Hornblower, who is on a daring mission in his frigate Lydia, sent by the British Admiralty to help a rebellion in Central America against Spain, who has sided with Napoleon. Don Julian Alvarado is the rebel leader who clearly seems demented, insisting people refer to him as El Supremo. However, Hornblower has no choice but to follow the orders he has received, no matter his obvious misgivings about his ally. The Spaniards, meanwhile, have a powerful warship in the area, the 60-gun Natividad. Hornblower, with skill and cunning, manages to capture this ship in a night attack. Interestingly, as captain of the Natividad, a young Christopher Lee makes a very brief appearance. But on capturing the Spanish warship, Hornblower is faced with a dilemma. Does he keep the Natividad as a British prize of war, or hand her over to the despotic El Supremo? His orders compel him to provide his ally with every possible aid, so Hornblower interprets this to mean he better hand over this powerful ship to his insane ally. Anything to help do harm to Spain's interests in America. But when he then sails on to Panama, he is met by a small vessel carrying officers, who inform him of the joyous news that Britain and Spain are no longer at war. They are now allies. At once the problem is apparent. He has handed the madman El Supremo a 60-gun battleship, which is now operating against his new Spanish ally. Albeit that he only has a 36-gun frigate, he can do nothing else but go after his newfound enemy. Better yet, Panama is suffering an outbreak of yellow fever, so Hornblower gets lumbered with Lady Barbara Wellesley, the sister of the later Duke of Wellington, who is brought to life rather stunningly by Virginia Mayo. It goes without saying that she becomes the glamorous love interest of the movie. The battle between the Lydia and the much more powerful Natividad is no doubt one of the showpieces of this film. Frankly, it's spectacular, even by today's standards. But if you thought this brought the film to a close, you'd be wrong. You see, the movie's script was written by no lesser than C.S. Forester himself, the author of the actual Hornblower novels. It is the very reason this is one of the best swashbucklers ever crafted. Forester's script simply took inspiration from 2 or 3 of his novels, which he skillfully combined into one work. So having survived the dastardly El Supremo, Hornblower is rewarded with the command of a much bigger vessel, the 74-gun Sutherland. He is sent on a new mission as part of a squadron under the command of Rear Admiral Leighton, which proves rather awkward, as this is the very man to whom the beauteous Lady Barbara Wellesley is betrothed. It goes without saying the 2 men do not warm to each other. Their squadron ends up hunting some French ships of the line. Hornblower, obviously being the dashing officer of initiative, spots an opportunity to get one up on the French. Separated from his squadron, he sends a message to them via a little brig, and sets off on his own with the Sutherland to launch a breathtaking attack on the French port and the 4 powerful French warships. Once again, the battle scenes are marvellous. The sheer sense of scale here is mind-blowing. His own ship smashed to smithereens in the heroic attack, Hornblower is captured and put on a coach to Paris, with his injured first lieutenant and the ever-loyal bear of a man, Seaman Quist. But Hornblower and his friends manage to make a run for it during the journey, and set about finding a way through enemy territory and eventually back to England. It is without a doubt a cracking tale right out of a boy's own adventure book. It was no coincidence that C.S. Forester was a best-selling author. He had a knack for boundless adventure, and with this script he really outdid himself. It is especially with the relations of the men aboard ship that C.S. Forester manages to capture just the right tone. The way the officers converse with each other, so too the men of the crew. How the captain set himself aside, the lone figure of authority. Gregory Peck is simply stellar as Hornblower, a man at ease with command and navigation, but awkward and off-balance when having to deal with society. But honourable mention must go to Alec Mango as the lunatic rebel El Supremo, Robert Beatty as First Lieutenant Bush, the rank being Americanized of course to Lieutenant, and the adorable Virginia Mayo as Barbara Wellesley. But first prize for supporting role must surely go to James Robertson Justice in his portrayal of Seaman Quist. I have already mentioned the brief appearance of Christopher Lee as a Spanish captain. Another face worth looking out for in this movie is Stanley Baker, who later went on famously to play the commanding officer in the film Zulu. Here he makes the occasional appearance as the ship's bosun. Another highlight is the film's score. The movie's main theme is instantly recognisable and put together by a master of the craft. This is Hollywood at its finest. One curio about this movie worth mentioning here may be that the makers of the original Star Trek television series with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy are said to have been heavily influenced by this film. Not only did it give them ideas of how to organise the hierarchy of the USS Enterprise, but even details like the sound of the bosun's call, the whistle used when piping aboard the captain, which they observed in the film, found its way back into the working of the starship going where no man had gone before. I will readily admit that I love this film. It is a humdinger of an adventure movie, which I do not think gets its fair share of recognition. If you enjoy swashbucklers, and you like your heroes daring to the point of suicide, then you should definitely give this film a try. That is all for now from the projection booth atop the Cyber Pass. Thank you very much, and goodbye.